everybody, and welcome to Reed's Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Check us out at the SpiderManCrawlspace.com. Well, everybody, I'm back. I had to take a few weeks off. I had some personal issues I had to take care of, but I'm all back, ready to go. So I'm going to actually hit the double whammy here and actually review Amazing Spider-Man 4 and 5, aka Legacy number 898 and 899, and, of course, Ben Reilly SpiderMan issue number 5 by J.M. DeMatteis, of course, and David Laron. So let's go ahead and get everything out to see what Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr.'s first big story arc on the relaunched Amazing Spider-Man was. First of all, the pros. The truth is, this issue worked really well with the gang war. I actually enjoyed huge parts of the story as we saw what Tombstone's plan was for Spider-Man, how he got himself out of this, and of course him taking out the Rose's gangs and actually taking care of some more of the other parts with the Criminal Underworld. I also like how Wells really crafted this story. He really used a lot of Spider-Man's knowledge of his webbing and fighting tactics, and of course my favorite line is, bad news for you guys, I'm all out of webbing. The jokes actually hit very well. This actually feels a lot like Spider-Man, the more lower level criminal empire with the superpower ones makes plenty of sense. And the artwork by John Romita Jr. is amazing. And I like how the fact that Tombstone's plan comes together of how he actually used Spider-Man to clean up everything with the gang war and keep him up. But I also really like how Spider-Man, after taking some advice over everything that happened to him with Black Cat and some of the other issues after being pounded so horribly, and of course realizing that Tombstone set him up, that he causes an actual good deal with Tombstone saying, you know what, I'll take care of it, because the truth is I can never truly get rid of all crime or mob enforcement in the city, but we can do it to where you do your half, I do my half, and of course everything knows that I can't really bring you down in the long run because it's not possible. So it really works well with Spider-Man making that realization and how he took his powers as well as his thought process of everything to make this work. So it leads to a great storyline. I really like how he turns Digger against Tombstone's men, as well as how the Rose gets put away and a few other things with the various members. And I really do like how everything's kind of been set up with Janice and Randy to get married, and how everything's going to work with Joe Robertson and Tombstone, that he's going to keep watching his back, but realizing at this point in time they know it's more about their kids than them. So I really like how that's all set up. But with that all said, let's get into the cons. Let's face it here, guys. We still have no idea what the big mystery is. And, of course, we do see the pieces of with Black Cat visiting Mary Jane and seeing the daughter, but, of course, not understanding what the kids are, the fact that Mary Jane is under this. Also, the fact we have even more about the debt collector, how apparently he has no life. He's sleeping and staying right there outside Peter's apartment. Even Black Cat's even in her normal disguise wondering why he's there and getting some more information. It doesn't really make sense, any of that. And why we do get some nice pieces towards the end of issue 5 with him making up kind of with Aunt May and a few things. There's just so many questions. The whole setup with the whole Sinister Adaptoid, which is for the big issue 900 coming up here in a couple of weeks, has not been touched upon since issue number 1 with the mysterious villain. We also have no idea why all of New York does not like Spider-Man anymore, why he's been on the outs with everybody from the Avengers to the Fantastic Four, what really is going on with Mary Jane and who Paul is, but even more too about some of the other mysteries, such as why is the debt collector there, who seems to take money, disappear for an hour or two, and comes right back and has apparently no life, or the fact he actually has to, use the bathroom or buy lunch. He just sits there collecting Venmo payments and just waiting for Peter to show up to pay everything. A lot of the stories don't make sense, but everything with the gang war, everything with the jokes, the action, everything with Spider-Man, even having him use his knowledge here, is well done. So for both issues 4 and 5, I'm going to give them B pluses. These are really good issues that work well, and it does feel like the ending is kind of a nice ending where it's still open-ended, but Zeb Wells has kind of set up what is going on with the Criminal Empire, with the rest of it being set up while Daredevil's busy with his own book. So it works very well with those storylines. So I'm actually going to give huge credit where it's due to both Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. on the storylines to completely end this with B pluses. But the rest of it still too much cold. We still don't know what the mystery is, why Peter is on the outs with everybody. We have no idea who these kids are, why he can't do with Mary Jane, as well as the fact that they keep talking about her, but yet she's never anywhere near it. So it doesn't really work, which really brings the grades down. So B pluses for that. And on that note, guys, let's move on to the final issue of Ben Reilly Spider-Man, set by J.M. DeMatteis and David Laron. First of all, the pros. This picks up perfectly. It's not only, action with a lot of the Ben Reilly rogues galleries, which of course were picked up from Spider-Man, because one thing J.M. DeMatteis really did with this storyline was do with a lot of the villains that were in Ravencroft. Now, one thing that was set up a lot in the 90s, that Ravencroft was not the example of, Arkham Asylum from, the DC comics with Batman. It was not only a place for certain more of the insane areas, but other ones that needed treatment where regular criminal sentences wouldn't work. And all the villains there, from Swarm to Mr. Hyde to, of course, our buddy Mysterio, are all set up here. And I really see how Spider-Side's plans go on here, but I really love the characterization that JM does with Ashley Kafka, getting everything set up here between the breakings of Vermin, as well as really how Spider-Side sees himself, that no matter what, he's kind of sees himself as a shadow, but there's a good of Ben Reilly in him. And the fact that when he turns and helps Ben after Ben is brutally beaten. Honestly, this is a well done. It felt like an episode of Oz meets, an episode of The Danger Area, old TV series from long way, when you see Ben being carried by all the supervillains after he's been beaten so much. And of course, Spider-Side not only knocking them all off, but also saving his life at the cost of his own, of course, as we find out, mind, as he's kind of set there in a coma at it. It's really well done, and I think it's a really nice piece because it really shows exactly what was so great going on with the Ben Reilly as Spider-Man, and the reason why he has got a lot of fans, why it was so enjoyable, despite everything that happened with the Clone Saga, as well as the bad guys, everything from Vermin to Mr. Hyde to Mysterio to Swarm to Shriek. Everything is so nicely put on here. I mean, it's kind of sad this is not the Ben Reilly we should have had more here after what happened with Spider-Man Beyond, and why the issue does tease, of course, Kraven's Lost Hunt, which has been talked about, which is the next mini-series coming up for Ben Reilly. It fits nicely into be a really good story, but it's really sad that this mini-series is actually higher grades than what's been going on with the whole Spider-Man Beyond storyline, as well as the current line with the current Spider-Man. So I'm going to give it a solid A. I'd give it an A+ because unfortunately, it's a mini-series, and we know where some of these storylines are going to go, and while we do have the setup here, too, I am a little worried that maybe Ben Reilly Spider-Man might fall the wayside of the Symbiont Spider-Man Peter David, which started out great during the Symbiont saga, but of course kind of went more and more, it was kind of contrived before it ends, even though I do like the fact that Peter David has picked up with, of course, Captain Marvel, as well as the new Fantastic Four series, which, if you haven't checked them out, please do. They're really good. So that's it, guys. The conclusion, the Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. storyline, B+, why we get everything in a solid A for Ben Reilly Spider-Man. Great series and really good. And after that, guys, I do apologize for being gone a couple weeks, and life happens, and we get into situations here too. But I'll be back pretty soon here with the big reveal of Amazing Spider-Man 900, as well as how I thought about some of the other wrap-up stories right there. And also, just to give a little announcement to everybody, I also will say that some of these Spider-Man minis, such as New Fantastic Four, and that I will be reviewing towards the end of the summer once the series start up, as a kind of a satellites title reads, which I think everybody will enjoy. On that, I want to thank everything from Peter, Shaitan Spidey, to Dark Nate, to everybody else, and Alfred, who have actually been doing the reviews consistently the last couple weeks and continue to do very well with it, guys. So, guys, thank you so much for doing the reviews. You don't know how much I appreciate you, especially when I had a lot of things going on the last few weeks. So thank you for that. And for that note, guys, please check us out at SpidermanCrawlspace.com for more of your Spider-Man news, comic reviews, and more. And, of course, our podcasts and more as we get up. And definitely check us out on our Discord and other social media networks to find more and join in conversations with Spider-Man. On that note, guys, I'm going to call it for a couple weeks, and I'll see you back for Amazing Spider-Man 900. See you later, Crawl Spacers.